This is the rear differential cover that came off the Ford 8.8 rear end. When I took it off, it was really rusty and crusty. I put it in a 5-gallon bucket of Evapor Rust and let it sit in there for about 2.5 weeks. I did take it out about halfway through and just gave it a scrubbing, rinse it off, and then put it right back in. Hey everyone, I just want to take a minute to talk about removing rust. There's a lot of different methods. I'm exploring some new ones, but one of the ones I like for small parts is Evapor Rust. I've seen a couple other people that I follow talk about Evapor Rust and how they weren't very impressed with it, but they took parts and either sprayed it on or soaked it and put a wet towel of it on for a couple hours and said it helped, but they weren't impressed with it. That's not the way I use Evapor Rust. I bought a 5-gallon bucket of it and I put parts in it and I let them soak for a week or 2 weeks, and I've always been very impressed by how they come out. And I've got a perfect example here. This particular part wouldn't completely fit down in the bucket, so I put it in as far as it would go and covered it with a couple of garbage bags. And I just want to show you what that looks like. Again, the way I use Evapor Rust, I completely immerse the part in it and I let it soak for a week minimum, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. It won't hurt the metal, or at least it never has for me. So take a look at this and see what you think. And it'll show you what it looked like when it went in. The entire thing was covered with that surface rust. And look at how it comes out. I will put this back in. I'll just flip it end for end and put it back in to get the rest of this. But that is extremely impressive. And what I plan to do with this is scrub it and powder coat it. This holds the steering column inside the car. I've got a couple other pieces down here that were off the rear differential that held the shock absorbers and so on. We'll see if this magnet is strong enough to get those. I don't have a before picture of this, but trust me, they were rusty just like the leaf springs before I did them in the electrolysis tank. Still a little crusty, so I will scrub this off and then I'll throw it back in. Something else down in there. Thought I had everything out. Oh, I forgot about this. First thing I'm going to put in are these brackets for the bump stops. on the back of the Nova. I've already taken the rubber bump stops off because I don't know what the evaporust will do to the rubber itself. But I'm going to throw these brackets in, and I have some other brackets here and some miscellaneous hardware that came off the bottom of the Nova, and I'm going to throw all that into the wire mesh tray and put it in the evaporust. You can see I filled it up enough to cover the parts. I like the parts to be completely immersed. I'll give them a week, and then I will take them out, inspect them, maybe rinse them or scrub them, and put them back in if they need it. So we'll get back to this in about a week. I'm going to put a lid on to keep the evaporust from evaporating into the air. Okay, today's Monday, July 4th. I put these parts off of the Nova into the evaporust 2 weeks ago today. My original intention was to come out every day, every 24 hours, and show the progress, but I didn't get that done. And that's one of the things I like about evaporust, is you can throw parts in it and just forget about them. So you can see the rust is gone. It does leave this black film, which I believe this is actually the rust that's been converted to an oxide, but the rust is gone off here, and we just need to, it almost looks like a paint that's been removed, but I believe that's just the black oxide. We're going to scrub these up with some warm soapy water, and then we're going to powder coat them. Okay, these are the parts I soaked in the evaporust. It did take off all the rust, but there's some body undercoating that's on these that I want to get off, and I'm going to dip them all in muriatic acid. I'm going to start with the largest ones first. They won't quite fit in the bottom of the bucket to where they can soak. So I'm going to use them and kind of pour the muriatic acid over them, and then I may have to tilt the bucket to get them completely covered. But the nice thing about muriatic acid is it doesn't take very long. I've got a bucket for the muriatic acid. I've got a bucket right beside it filled with water and baking soda to neutralize the acid. I'll be wearing chemical gloves and safety glasses. Also, with muriatic acid, you got to be very careful not to breathe the fumes in. I'm not recommending muriatic acid because it can be dangerous as far as getting it on your skin and burning you, splashing it in your eyes, and making you go blind, or breathing in and damaging your lungs. So but I grew up with this, using it on the farm, and I'm comfortable. You do want to do it outside. So I'm going to get started, and we'll see how this goes. I've got pieces of wire tied to everything, so I don't actually have to reach into the acid. I don't want to test these gloves to see if they'll withstand the acid. They're just to help prevent me getting it on my skin from splashes. Sorry for the noise, but the fumes are pretty strong, and they're just kind of hovering there. So I set up a fan to blow the fumes away from me. Looks like if I put this second jug in there, that piece will be completely covered. I don't think I want to leave the metal in there as long as it's taped to completely remove that. We may try some heat from the torch and see what that does to this stuff. But that is a good undercoating, whatever it was. Okay, this is where I am with these parts off the Nova. I soaked them in evapor rust and then dipped them in muriatic acid. And for the most part, they're pretty good. They're not perfect, but I would like to get a little more of this undercoating off. I think the next thing I'm going to try is using a torch to heat it up, scrape it, and then who knows, I may dip it again in the muriatic acid. But overall they're cleaning up. It's just taking more time than I would like. But the goal is to get these clean and then to powder coat them. Here are the parts after burning the undercoating off with the torch and giving them another dip in the muriatic acid. They are not completely perfect, but they are good enough for me. I'm going to let these dry overnight. I will give them a quick scuff with some sandpaper, and then I'm going to try to powder coat them tomorrow.